Hi, my name is Noah Askin, and I'm an assistant professor of organizational behavior at INSEAD and also the program director for Leading for Results. And I'm here just to check in with you and to talk to you a little bit about the switch to a virtual program. I should say that I've always had a bias for in-person teaching. I feel like you can make stronger connections, there's better engagement, the class discussion and the dynamic and the energy is really, really valuable, and it brings everybody in, and it seems to be a better experience. At least that was what I thought. And over the past 8 months or so, as everything has shifted to virtual and people working from home, working in front of their screens, working in front of their webcams, I've come to question those biases a little bit because I don't know that they necessarily reflect reality. We've now run a whole bunch of virtual programs, and the overwhelming sentiment from participants and from me, which I'll talk about in a second, has been, wow, that was actually a lot better than I anticipated it being. I had expectations of there being a dramatic drop off in the experience, and that just wasn't the case. And so I just want to talk to you about a couple of quick things that I think I didn't necessarily think about beforehand that I think are really valuable to consider, and they may not be things that you've considered as you've thought about, well, do I really want to switch to virtual, and what am I going to lose if that's the case? And for sure, right, the actual act of being in the same place is something that you're not going to get to experience, at least not during the program. Uh, Hopefully, if you have other people from your program in the same city, you'll have opportunities to get together, but we won't all be in one place at the same time as the program unfolds. And that's certainly a loss. However, in prior runs, when we were all in person, we basically bring you to campus, and for 5 days, we unleash the fire hose on you. It's 9 hours in the class, it's very intense, it's a lot of material, it's a lot of activity, and that's wonderful. But what that means is your absorption and retention of the material may not be quite as good just because there's so much happening at once. And what happens when the shift to virtual takes place is actually we now only do 4 hour sessions in any given day, because more than that, with the screens, it's just a lot. And what shorter sessions mean is you actually have more time to digest the material, to go back to your work, to your regular work right after the session, and start to put things into practice right away and see how things actually fit nicely into your everyday working existence. And so the opportunity created by shorter sessions means that actually you can put things into practice and absorb more, much more readily. I've also found that engagement, when you're focused just for a shorter period per day, is actually much better. The connections between people, not only from me as faculty member to you as participant, but the participants to each other, actually ends up being really, really high because it's focused, because we're all on the screen, because we're kind of just looking at each other the whole time. The engagement actually ends up being really, really practical, really focused, and that's wonderful. And the other really interesting and valuable thing that I didn't think about is, well, if the rest of your life right now is virtual and the way that you lead teams, the way you go about communicating, the way you interact with your job is virtual and it's going to be that way for a while, this is a really, really good way to practice that, not only in terms of your engagement with the content and the material in the program, but also with each other and the other participants, and especially during the coaching session, right? Your ability to engage and to get feedback and give feedback and to receive that kind of information in a virtual setting is actually going to be a wonderful opportunity to practice what the next months and possibly even years are going to look like in terms of working remotely and leading teams and organizations remotely. And so, yes, there's certainly some things to consider that won't be replicated in the virtual experience that are there when we're in person. However, I think there's a lot of benefit to actually doing this virtually. And so I hope you'll join us on the next Leading for Results program.